The president is in a very deep hole right now, and I don't think that there is a fast way out of it. I mean, this is going to take a long grind on the part of the campaign, but also on the part of the president, and a kind of a discipline that would be unusual for Donald Trump in delivering a consistent message, and a message that would begin to resonate beyond the hardcore base, which is always where he seems to pitch his rhetoric.
What's at stake in this election as you compare and contrast? And what are your top priority items for a second term?
Well, one of the things that will be really great, you know, the word experience is still good. I always say talent is more important than experience. I've always said that. But the word experience is a very important word. It's a very important meaning. I never did this before. I never slept over in Washington. I was in Washington, I think, 17 times. All of a sudden, I'm president of the United States. You know the story. I'm riding down Pennsylvania Avenue with our First Lady, and I say, this is great. But I didn't know very many people in Washington. It wasn't my thing. I was from Manhattan, from New York. Now I know everybody. And I have great people in the administration. You make some mistakes, like, you know, an idiot like Bolton, all he wanted to do is drop bombs on everybody. You don't have to drop bombs on everybody. You don't have to kill people.
Not health care, not revive the economy, not continue the coronavirus fight. I'd have more experience, and Bolton's an idiot.
The argument that the campaign has been making, and we saw this at the Tulsa rally, is an argument that is fundamentally just against Joe Biden. He has not articulated what the second-term agenda would be. For his supporters, Make America Great Again is probably sufficient, but for the rest of the country, it's not. And especially for the independents and people who have been actually moving away from the president in the last few months, that is not going to be a sufficient answer.
This is a new Trump campaign ad I want you to listen to, trying essentially to get into the politics of the moment, the racial reckoning in the United States, the demands for police reform, and to cause Joe Biden problems. Listen.
Every major crime bill that's come out of this Congress has had the name Joe Biden on that bill. We do everything but hang people for jaywalking in this bill.
Joe Biden's policies destroyed millions of black lives. Joe Biden may not remember, but we do.
I'd make 2 points. One is that we've learned over, a number of recent campaigns that advertising in presidential elections is of limited value and compared to a Senate race or a gubernatorial race. That more important is kind of the national conversation that's going on and that's being led by the two candidates themselves. So that's one problem. I think the second is that there has been no consistency to the message, even the anti-Biden message that the Trump campaign, and in particular the president, has delivered. I mean, if you go back and look at that Tulsa rally where he spoke for an hour and 40 minutes, there were lines in the teleprompter version of that speech that added up to a kind of a coherent anti-Biden attack. And yet it was interspersed with all kinds of other things from the president himself, riffing and going ad lib and talking about his walk down that ramp at West Point, that diminish the effectiveness of the attacks. And I think the third thing is, in an argument about who is going to be better for Black America, Donald Trump is not going to win that argument with Black voters. And if they think that they can do it with suburban voters, I think that that's almost as big a challenge on that front.
The man can't speak, and he's going to be your president because some people don't love me, maybe. And a friend of mine said, you have to be the most perfect person.
And he's going to be your president. He sounds defeated.
Yeah, I mean, it is really remarkable to hear him say that, even as he claims that all these polls are false. But the president clearly understands he's in a deep hole in terms of his approval rating and that this race is not going in the direction that he wants it to go. I think all of this adds up to not necessarily that the Trump campaign or the president himself believes that they can bring over Black voters to their side or even bring back some of these suburban voters, but they do think that they can perhaps suppress some support for Joe Biden among Black voters, particularly younger voters.